Hey everyone. So yeah, that intro, we've had that song for a while. I saw Matt was jamming out behind the scenes, enjoying it.
It's a good song. It's a lot of fun.
Um, it's a good one. I like it. And some of the edits, by the way, that's all me. I'm not an editor, so some of that fancy little clip work, I'm pretty proud of that. So
Multi-talented.
thank you. That's about it though. It stops there. So first of all, thank you everybody for joining. Welcome to CDK Live. Another show here where today we have a really cool topic we're going to talk about. And as you can see, I'm not the only one here. We have two AWS heroes with us who are, I want to just say, just huge in the CDK community. And they're going to do their intros, but they're CDK contributors. They're using the CDK in the real world. And they're part of our AWS Heroes program. So if you're not familiar with this, it's basically a program where AWS recognizes leaders and experts in AWS in various across various verticals and subject matters. And Thorsten and Matt are two AWS heroes. So they do a whole bunch of work with the community, helping folks upskill, up level, and just get better at AWS in general. So why don't we start with a couple introductions? So let's start with you, Matt. Why don't you say hello? Tell us all the good stuff about yourself.
Hi, my name is Matthew Bonig. I am the Chief Cloud Architect at Defiance Digital. We are an MSP based out of Charlotte, North Carolina. We help our customers run workloads on AWS. So we're their AWS experts, and they get to focus on developing their programs. Along with Thorsten, Matt Coulter, and Satya Biat, we're one of the co-authors of the CDK book, and I've also got an advanced CDK course that's available on my website.
Awesome. Thorsten.
Yeah, I call myself a cloud automation evangelist. So I'm basically helping customers, mainly in regulated industries, on their journey into the cloud and helping them with all the automation, what AWS does, and how to do this in a regulated and safe way. So that's my day job at Timos, which is basically just me. So I am self-employed and doing this with customers of all sizes. And as Matthew said, also co-author of the book.
Which, by the way, we should. Is there a website where I can pop in here? I purchased the book when it came out. Really great book if you want to just you want to get some really good content, getting started with the CDK, diving deeper than kind of beyond the basics. Awesome book, and I know the authors. Y'all are really great, and it's really good content. So wherever I can, is it just cdkbook.com?
Yeah, the cdkbook.com. Yep.
Cool. Okay, so definitely check that out. If you don't have that book, get your hands on it. It's definitely worth it. And also, Matt, I know you do. You also have some courses on CDK as well, right? Like some workshops that you host. You want to talk about that a little bit?
So built them last year. The intention with the video course online is to take people who have been using the CDK for a while and just making sure that for that mid to advanced level sort of user of the CDK, someone's got 6 months to a year under their belt, just kind of guiding them on what the best practices are for it to ensure that what they build today is still just as usable and just as viable for them a year, 2 years down the road.
Awesome. So definitely check that out too. Okay, so we didn't talk about this, but I kind of want to start with, so y'all have been working with AWS for a while. Oh, there goes my camera, but that's okay. Y'all have been working with AWS for a while. Matt, I want to start with you. Just, what is it about the CDK that kind of drew you in and that made this, that kind of got you hooked? What is it about CDK that you love so much? While I fix my camera.
Sure. So I am kind of a recovering application developer. Started that back in my teenage years. Went to school for that. And I was a .NET developer until about 2015, and then jump shipped and did a lot of mean stack development, things like that. And I remember in 2018, I think it was, around that time frame, I had to write a bunch of Terraform modules when I was working for Rackspace, and I hated the process. It was so unfamiliar in terms of this idea of like, okay, I'm going to define all these static files and then let's just deploy them and hope things work. And I remember Eric Johnson, one of your fellow AWS DevRel guys, he actually pointed me at the CDK when it first got beta released. And I remember looking at it the first time thinking, I don't want imperative languages. I don't need them. I like my static languages. I like my declarative stuff. And then about 6 months later, I was working on a project where I had to maintain somewhere around 120 RDS instances across a number of different accounts and environments. And this CDK was a perfect fit to solve that. I could boil everything down into a static JSON file that I made available for the architects and the designers to decide what the specs of each individual RDS instance needed to be. And then that just fed into the CDK, handled the deployments, everything went out great. So I started to see the power of having an imperative language in there and having a general purpose language that created a lot of flexibility and a lot of power. And I've just been hooked on it ever since.
Awesome. Yeah, Thorsten, what about you?
Yeah, so I started using AWS in 2013 when moving a bank to AWS, and the first rule was everything is automated. So if it's not automated, it doesn't exist. So we were only using CloudFormation for everything, and it was like hundreds and thousands lines of CloudFormation all the time. And this was the same with all my customers later on. And the thing is, with being a consultant, I was like, oh yeah, I have a solution for that problem. And then it was like copy pasting snippets of CloudFormation templates. And when I first saw the CDK, it's like, yeah, that solves my main issue. I can build constructs and I can reuse them in a way that is something we know as developers, like packages, installing packages as dependencies. This is like, oh yeah, that sounds familiar. And it's not like copying around JSON snippets.
Yeah, makes sense. And I mean, I think that's when you start to build that scale and with infrastructure as code tools, I think every infrastructure as code tool has its, its pluses and its minuses. There's pros and cons to every tool. And I think when you're operating in, like a DSL or JSON or YAML, as you get more complex and you start to have these, situations where you need to make decisions dynamically, it does get a little more challenging. And I think the imperative language does make that a lot easier when you start to build at that scale. But also, as I think is known in the community, is just the abstractions built into the CDK. It's a great point. I think being able to build your own, abstractions, which of course you can do it with Terraform today. You can build, modules, but with the CDK, you're building these abstractions using a programming language. You can make those decisions programmatically using a general programming language, something that's maybe a little more natural and better fit, for these types of use cases. So thank you guys. It was just something that came up, and I'm like, hey, let's see what got them here. But so let's talk a little bit about the Open Construct Foundation. So this is a new initiative that's community driven. And y'all recently announced it. So maybe that's the whole point of what we're here to talk about today. So Matt, maybe you can start with, what is the Open Construct Foundation? What got you here today and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so I originally founded the Open Construct Foundation back in 2019 when I first started really getting into the CDK as a whole, because what I saw was a system aimed at people who probably didn't have the programming background that I did, didn't understand OOP, didn't understand unit testing, didn't understand some of these things. So I created it as a potential funnel for education opportunities and community support stuff. So out of that, it has spawned the CDK.dev website, the CDK.dev Slack server. We are officially a sponsor of CDK Day that's been happening for the last few years. And the goal is really just to make sure that knowledge is spread effectively into the community and everybody, code grows and hits a good pace on going from beginner CDK people to advanced CDK people. And we've been seeing that really happen effectively, I think. Every year there is a community survey that I put out, and year over year, that sort of like self-assessed knowledge of the CDK keeps shifting more and more to the right. So, first year we put it out there, average, everyone considered themselves a 3 out of 5. And that's been slowly going 3.5, 4, 4.5 on an average over the years. So we've really done a good job at helping the community understand how to use the CDK and how to grow with it.
Awesome. And so, the kind of the talk that's been going around a lot is around the community has been around the L2 contribution model. So, at least at this time, within the CDK project, the CDK team is still building out L2 constructs. We're still working through those. But of course, the CDK team is limited at a certain scale. And I think, in this recent announcement, we're talking about, the Open Construct Foundation and starting to build, constructs in the community, but with these guardrails and, having these community experts like yourselves kind of help to supplement the constructs that aren't being created, from the CDK team in the CDK main library. So maybe Thorsten, you want to talk a little bit about that? Why are y'all building these, and what's your intent, and what are you looking to do in the future with it?
Yeah, sure. So back in December, there was this communication, and it was clear what you just mentioned, that net new constructs out of the community just cannot no longer be accepted just by the sheer amount of them. So it was like, where should we place them? There's the constructs.dev, where we can just publish our own constructs. But obviously that leads to problems. As I said, I'm working with regulated industries, and they're like, yeah, I cannot just install a random library with a construct by a random people. Random people, I have no idea who they are and if they will still be around next year. So there was immediately this idea of how can we build something that is outside of AWS but still has some kind of trust. And then several people approached me like, oh yeah, we have this problem. And I was like, yeah, so let's just do it. So if we all have this idea, let's just do it. And so we are basically taking over this contribution process of the L2s and L3s into a separate library, which is important to say. So it's a separate library that adds functionality on top of the CDK. It's nothing. And yeah, I was mentioning this before in several things, it's not open tofu. So it's not replacing the CDK or taking away things. It's just having the framework in one library, which is what AWS provides, and having the community constructs in another library, and you use them both together. It's not one replacing the other. It's these both things complementing each other and saying, this is the library with the constructs, and this is the foundation managed by AWS.
And there's definitely from the AWS side, there was that announcement as far as, and by the way, these decisions are not like one-way doors where we can't change things down the road. But I think at this time, the CDK team made the decision that we want to hold off on community contributions for L2s, new L2s to the CDK library. Because what the team found was that it took a lot of time to work with the community on building these constructs, and we weren't able to focus on these other features that we were trying to work on and so on. So at least for the time being, I think that the Open Construct Foundation with these L2s, so anything that's not on the roadmap for the main CDK library, I think this really comes off as a good opportunity to build and supplement where maybe we're not going to support a particular construct in for the time being within the main core AWS CDK library.
Yeah, and obviously to go on that is the CDK team has to listen to the customers by numbers. So if nobody else wants the database migration service as an L2, there will be no DMS construct. But the community can do like, oh yeah, I have one, so I will contribute it to this community library, and then we have a DMS L2. And that's exactly the thing, because obviously AWS cannot do all the constructs at the same time. So there needs to be prioritization, and this will not be some kind of niche services.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And again, we are, as someone who's on the CDK team, I'm a developer advocate, working with our development, our engineers, our managers, our product folks. I see we're heavily invested in the CDK. We want to see this tool continue to grow, and the community loves it. I mean, I came to the CDK team. I remember when the CDK first came out, it was like, this is what I've been looking for my whole technical career was the CDK. I tried Troposphere. I worked with Terraform. I worked with CloudFormation. It was, all these tools were cool, but this was the thing that really got it. So the passion's there, and from the community, from the team internally. So we do want to continue to make it a best-in-class, product. So I did want to touch on, maybe Matt, maybe you can answer this. So we talked about the Open Construct Foundation, the constructs that are going to, come up through here. So one thing that I think a big reason why folks really like the CDK, outside of imperatively defining your infrastructure as code, is leveraging these L2 constructs, right? They're really important. And when they're maintained by AWS, I think that's also gives some comfort to folks. So from like a guardrails perspective, maintaining the library, governing all of these constructs, how do you see that with the Open Construct Foundation and kind of building that trust in the community to want to use these constructs?
Sure. So what we are primarily focused on for the next few weeks, with a target of the end of March, is building out all the documentation, all the guidelines, all the processes that say, here's how we believe as an organization is the best way to build these constructs. We want to get all that information up front, very clearly defined, so that when we do have contributions come in, contributors can understand what is expected from them in terms of good code hygiene, in terms of good API design, how to make your constructs extendable, and other things. We've learned a lot from the maintainers here that we've already identified, and we've got paths for bringing people up through the system, from contributors to reviewers to maintainers as well, and really try to make it so that these processes and these goals are community driven, so that we're all on the same page and we all agree with what we're building, and we all build something that is good and clean. I think there's been a lot of lessons learned over the last 4 years about what a good construct means. So we're hoping to get those things all applied well to this process.
Awesome. So, and, so when we look at the, timeline wise, like what y'all are working on and focus now is just getting that kind of the processes in place, getting the documentation there. So when folks want to, when you're ready, that they'll have not an easy path. I shouldn't say nothing's easy, but a path that they can onboard and get started and start to contribute.
Yeah, we want to make it very clear for anyone wanting to contribute to these libraries, what are we expecting from it, so that there is as little churn as possible in that process. Because that was, as you said, the biggest problem for the CDK over the course of about the last year, was that there was a lot of churn, there was a lot of back and forth, there was a lot of time that it took from initial PR until it was closed. Could be anywhere from 3 to 6 months. And that's a very laborious process, and it's something that can really get people to not want to contribute. So one of our main goals with all of this is velocity, to make sure that we are erring on the side of speed rather than 100% correctness. As far as why people should trust us, we've got some of the best people in the CDK community who are going to be helping us define these processes. We've got a very strong board with the OCF, but also as part of this initiative, we've got the original creator of the CDK, Elad Ben Israel, who is going to be helping us in guiding some of these processes, as well as people from the community who've been building these third-party constructs for the last few years and have been building really great ones. So getting all of them involved in tackling this from this group effort on this should hopefully instill some trust.
Yeah, so adding on that, as Matt was saying, so we have a group of 6 to 8 maintainers currently that are working on these processes and on these documentations, and these are people that are all contributors and past contributors to the CDK, so they know how this works, how to build things, how to review things. And we're not talking about 1 or 2 PRs to the CDK. We're talking about 60, 80 or more contributions. So people who really went through this process. And so not only know how the CDK works, but also how the contribution process works and where the problems are. And that's what Matt was saying. Like, it doesn't mean that all the PRs that are opened will be accepted. That's not how open source works. But we want to have a fast answer on it. So we don't want to have abandoned PRs, but a yes or a no in a timely manner.
Yeah, makes sense. And that just will provide a really good contribution experience and getting those quick answers. And I know that's been, with the CDK library, that has been tough in the past. So that should be, that's exciting to hear. So we have this model, this foundation. We're starting to build the documentation and kind of get these processes in place. At what point can developers start contributing? Like, what are the next steps? What do you see ahead in that respect?
Yeah, so as Matt was saying, so we're targeting end of March to have these processes or basically documents in place, which is, to make it easy, it's the contributing MD file in the repo. So this is where everything is placed. And we want to have this file ready and also have a discussion with the maintainers during this period on how to structure the library and the repository. So there's a lot of discussions on how to bootstrap it or using Progen and then how to do it. Is it one repo? Is it multi-repo? Is it mono repo? Is it one project? Is it multiple libraries in one? There's some things that need to be discussed. And then we want to bootstrap this repository. And the hope is that by end of March, we have something that is, here's the structure of the repository. There's maybe 1 or 2 classes in there that are constructs, so you can see where it goes. And then we can accept contributions. And I think we hope to start with smaller L2s and then go up from there. So not the first PR being, here's 1,000 lines of code and it's a complex L3 with a special use case, but iterating on chunks that we can really work on.
Yeah, it makes sense. You don't want to put yourself in a tough position. You must start small and build on it, right? Really build the momentum. So as far as, let's talk a little bit about the existing model. I know we touched on it a bit, but so how do you all see the interaction model with like existing L2 and L3 constructs? So, how do you envision working together in that sense with things that exist already in the main CDK library?
Thorsten, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I can take that one. So the general idea. So there's one disclaimer on all of that. We're a group of maintainers, and all these things are in the process of being decided. So currently we have ideas, but things can change when we discuss this with the group of maintainers. The current idea, what we're going for, is not duplicating L2s and L3s that exist in the core library. So if there is an instance L2 or the infamous VPC L2, we are not going to start with rebuilding construct that already exists. That will confuse people, like, which instance L2 am I using? So the idea is having net new constructs in the community library, and if the construct already exists, guiding people to creating PRs on the core library, because the features to existing L2s are still accepted. So these changes should go there. And we're doing the net new constructs. In the future, that might change there's a significant number of people who want the construct to behave different. So there might be a second opinion on how an L2 for this resource could look like. But the main idea is to have net new constructs.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, one of the goals of this was to have these constructs built in such a way and trusted and proven out so that they can make their way back into the main CDK core libraries. This was one of those changes that was announced in December, which is go build them on your own, and if they're good, we'll incorporate them in. Well, our goal is to make sure that we put them through those alpha and those beta phases. We get these things built well so that they can make their way back into the core CDK libraries eventually, in which case we deprecate what's in our library and it just becomes go use what's in the CDK core. So to that effect, we are also incorporating in and working with some of the existing CDK team maintainers and developers to make sure that what we're accepting into the libraries are of the quality needed to get back into the CDK core eventually.
And that's awesome. And it does address there is that pain point of, constructs.dev is a little bit of kind of anyone can really publish there. There's no oversight and all that. So here we're getting that oversight, and almost becomes like, that we'll work on is this like graduation process when we're ready to, contribute it and merge it into the main CDK library. That's something that, we'll look at doing down the road. So I guess I think we've touched on a lot of the points here. I'm not sure there's a whole lot else to really go into, because my next question was going to be on the, contribution model of moving that into, or the graduation model. So I guess what we could do is really just kind of wrap up with, what do you all see as far as in the future here? So you said, end of March, this is what, kind of the timeline we're looking to have things documented and start building. Where do you see this project over the next few months? Are there any constructs that folks have talked about that you want to start with? I guess any other parting remarks you want to end with? And Matt, we can start with you.
Yeah, so the main thing that I would say over the course of about the next month to 3 months is really trying to get the community involved with actually making contributions to opening PRs, to getting this process really off the ground, because we could do all the work we want from a maintainer standpoint to define these processes to do it, but we're not in a position any more than the AWS team is to actually build these things ourselves. So getting people to contribute to it, getting AWS to acknowledge that we're doing this so that as people try to PR back into the CDK core, you guys can say, hey, this is no longer what we do. Go to the Open Construct Foundation, go to the Open Construct Library to do these things. And really just, I would say, be vocal over the course of this process, both what we release at the end of March on those first contributions. We're asking people to be as active. If you build constructs, if you were working on anything for L2s or L3s into the CDK library, please come, please work with us. Please help us in this process, because it is very much community driven. And we do have a lot of plans to make sure that this is something that is going to be maintained, not just, our goal isn't just what do the next 3 months look like in the next 6 months, but really what does the next 18 months look like? How do we evolve the process over the course of that time? How do we get people from a contributor to a reviewer to a maintainer level? How do we cycle people out of being maintainers when they're no longer able to do that work? And how do we bring people up into that space? So we've got a lot of work to do, to be honest, but it all hinges off of this is community this is being built for the community, by the community. So if this is something that you want to be a part of, like, please engage with us. Please hit us up over on our cdk.dev Slack server, and be vocal.
Yeah, and I want to add on that so community is everybody using the CDK. So we're looking for users of the CDK in companies, developers, in users of AWS to do this. But also, and I think there's also a good potential here looking at AWS people, not CDK people. I'm thinking about all solution architects, ProServe, people that are also building constructs, publishing them on random GitHub organizations. These things could also find a home in a community library and be usable by other customers instead of a random solution architect published a thing. Yeah, it will be good because it's a person from AWS knowing what they are doing, but it's still a random person on the internet. So all these people are also community, and we also welcome them to contribute to the community library. It's not, we don't want AWS to contribute here. We want them. Because I think ProServe and solution architects do these things. They are out there helping customers, and they have these constructs. So they also are very welcome to contribute to these things. And then further down the line, talking 6 months or more, the constructs ecosystem is bigger than the AWS CDK. So we are not only talking about the AWS CDK right now, because that was the point where all this started because of this contribution change. But no, there's also discussions about where do we put our own project types for Progen. Not every project type will be in Progen mainline. So could this also be a community library for community-driven constructs and components for Progen? What about CDKs? What about other things? So there's more to the constructs ecosystem that also could benefit of the same thing of AWS providing the core and the community providing add-ons to that. And that's what is like 6 to 9 months is expanding this to more areas of the constructs ecosystem.
Yeah, CDK for Terraform, Progen. The goal is eventually to be doing constructs for all of those. While we're starting with AWS CDK because it was the most needed and the most used, I would love to see, especially around Progen. I think Progen is an absolutely fantastic project, and I'd love to start seeing things like the Next.js community and the Nuxt community and all these other guys starting to build these Progen project types for that, so that everybody's user of anything in the development ecosystem can get better along the way.
Yeah, small shameless plug on my side for that. Currently, with another DevTools hero, I'm working on a Progen library for CI/CD pipelines. So you define it in Progen, and then it generates it for GitHub, GitLab, Code Pipeline, Jenkins, whatever you want. Automatically incorporating all the best practices like security scanning and testing and all these things, so people can get up to speed with their CI/CD pipelines without reinventing the wheel all the time. I can totally see that being part of the Open Construct Foundation and not two random people on the internet.
Yeah, and it's such a good point you make, Thorsten. First of all, the call to action to the AWS community within AWS, the solutions architects, the professional services teams, you are spot on. They're doing a lot of really great work out there helping customers, building really cool constructs. I think the OCF is the perfect home for those constructs, because to have that central hub is so critical. And so you just, now I have a call to action. I'm going to go back and I'm going to get all the SAs together, all the ProServe folks, and we're going to have conversations, because I think that's a great idea. And just, reiterating, it's right now it's CDK focused, but the CDK community is much larger than just the CDK, for AWS built on CloudFormation. There's CDKTF, CDKs, and of course, Progen, which is a fantastic tool for bootstrapping and getting started. So I did want to ask, and you touched on it. So if I'm a developer, I want to get started. I want to talk to Matt and Thorsten, or I want to talk to the group. What's the recommended approach? Where should I go right now to kind of get my voice heard and start talking to y'all? Or do I wait until March and then we go to those points? What's
Talk
that
to us
look like?
right now. Talk to us right now. You already posted the link to the website, and there we have the information. So as Matt mentioned several times, we have the CDK.dev Slack workspace. And in the Slack workspace, there's a channel. It's called Community Construct Library, obviously. And go into this channel. We are there. The reviewers are there. The maintainers are there. Talk to us. Yeah. Bring your ideas, bring your feedback, bring your wish list, and then we see what we can do there.
Perfect. Okay, and I can tell you the CDK Slack channel is really great. There's multiple, just if you've never heard of it and this is your first time hearing about it, it's a great place to just talk to other folks building across the various CDK projects, not just CDK, but CDK for Terraform, CDKs. And of course, like I'll tell you, Matt and Thorsten, I've reached out to them. They're very, very nice and easy to talk to, as you can see here. So they're not going to bite. So for those that are looking that are interested in this and you want to contribute, start with the CDK Dev Slack workspace. Get in there, start asking questions, and then I'm really looking forward to seeing this take off. And again, just to you two. To everybody in the foundation that's building this up, just thank you for all of your contributions to the CDK. The reality is this project wouldn't be where it is today without the community, without your voices and y'all pushing AWS and y'all pushing just with contributions and making the project better. I mean, it really is because of the community and what y'all have done. That's the reason why it's become so popular and why we're here today. So honestly, just thank you for all that you do. And, I guess next we'll look forward to regrouping maybe in a month or so and kind of do like a community update and see where we're at from there. Does that sound good?
Sounds
Be
perfect.
fantastic. Yep. Would love that.
Awesome. Okay. So I think that's a wrap for now. Again, openconstructs.org. CDK.dev for Slack to talk with folks in the community. And again, you can always reach out to me as well on LinkedIn or GitHub or Twitter or X, whatever it's called these days. But again, Matt, Thorsten, thank you so much for being here. And we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks
Awesome.
for having us.